Hi. Hi, sir.
Hey, hey, Madhavan.
Ashish.
Ashish ji, hello.
Hello. Thank you everybody for joining in. We'll formally start this session now. This is plenary 8 of the 9th CII Big Picture Summit. And the session is VFX, the X Factor of Indian M&E. This session is being moderated by Mr. Biren Ghosh. He's the Vice Chairman of CII National Committee on Media and Entertainment. He's also the country head India of Technicolor. May I request all those who are not speaking to please put their audios on mute. Thank you. I'll quickly introduce the panelists of this session. We have with us Mr. Ashish Kulkarni, founder and CEO of Punaryug Art Vision. Mr. P. Jayakumar, Chief Executive Officer of Toons Media Group. Mr. A. K. Madhavan, founder and Chief Executive Officer of Assemblage. Mr. Kirit Khurana, founder director of Climb Media Private Limited. Mr. Rajiv Shilaka, founder and managing director of Green Gold Animation. And Mr. Marjan Tawaria, creative director and general manager and co-founder of Prime Focus. Welcome all the panelists of this session. And with this, I hand over the podium to Mr. Biren Ghosh to take the session forward. Mr. Biren Ghosh.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to have a glittering array of the leaders in our industry all together on this call. While many of you know that they need no introduction, the wonderful thing about this panel, I think, is that we've had such a long journey together that this is like a collection of friends who've all worked together for many years and are here to talk about the future. We love talking about the future because who knows what's going to happen in it. None of us on this panel could predict 2020. So we have the task now of predicting the next phase. But I know that we've done this very often. I'd like to begin by saying that we are going to broaden the conversation from VFX, although the FX is there in all of the stuff that we do. We're going to broaden the conversation, if that's okay with everyone, to talk about the X factor. And the X factor, I think, refers to the fact that how are we going to look at an industry that already grows at double the rate of the rest of the media and entertainment industry, but has the potential to do even more. And I would like to think that instead of talking about VFX, we will talk about, since we love jargon, right? Let's invent one. We're going to talk about the metaverse. And the metaverse is a virtual shared universe of convergence technologies that power augmented reality and games and immersive media of all kinds. And this is the computer graphics space that everyone here has been working in with for over the last 2 decades. That is going to be powered even more by the power of 5G and everything else that's been happening in this conference for the last 2 days. We had a fantastic panel yesterday on the future operating systems of convergence, and I was blessed and informed and educated by good friends from Tech Mahindra and Accenture and companies like that are going to be giving us additional wind in the sails of companies in this panel. So with these words, I would like to kind of just bring in everyone into the conversation. They have tremendous different varied lenses and hats that they wear to add to the conversation. Someone coming from a more creative side, someone coming from a more business side, someone is involved in more the elements of policy, etc. So let's jump into it. And may I start? I'm going by my screen left to right, so it's in no particular order. I'd like to kick off with asking Kirit to share with us what he thinks is the X factor. How can we scale creativity and the things that he does? He involves himself in creating large projects. He involves himself in mentoring young students. He involves himself in things that are going to be at the development end of this. And how does all this create an even greater momentum in the future? So, Kirit, why don't you kick off it'd be a nice way to start with the creative. Over to you. Unmute yourself.
Thanks for having me there, Brian. And hi, guys. Great to catch up with all of you. I think essentially the challenges for the creative aspect for animation remain the same for many, many years now. I think Indian animation, although it has done phenomenally well since the early 2000s, when a little bit of momentum got kickstarted with Toons Trivandrum, Jayakumar, and we also did our first animation series, Plenary and Chota Birbal, respectively. And of course, subsequently, Green Gold has done some phenomenal work in this space. Not to forget mentioning Ashish's work as well. And of course, the challenges remain the same in terms of the marketability. We have some great ideas. We have some great concepts with us over here at Climb Media. But the uptake for these concepts and ideas has been a big challenge, because I think the whole idea is about monetizing. Animation is expensive, and if animation is being done at the highest level, it is even more expensive. And somehow India has not been able to crack the market. I don't think it's just India, it's a lot of other countries also that have not been able to crack the market. I think apart from US and a few companies, obviously over there, conglomerates like DreamWorks and Disney, which have cracked the distribution and marketing of these things, and of course, monetization, the licensing and merchandising. We're still in the early stages of that, unfortunately, in 2020. But having said that, there's been huge breakthroughs. Obviously, we have critical mass, we have all the talent, we have all the ability. I think Mersin has done an incredible job, and Mersin and his team have done an incredible job of bringing Prime Focus up the way they have really come up in terms of bolstering the creativity of the country as well. So the resources remain in place, just that we've not been able to capitalize on it, or we've not been able to leverage that to actually create products that are marketable. That's, I think, primarily one of the concerns that remains for a long time. I think you're muted.
Great opening comment. Thank you very much for that. I will move from here to Jay Kumar, because Jay has been able to straddle and work with co-productions around the globe. He's involved in the creation of original content, the co-production of content, and he's also involved in the distribution of content. Can we get off the microphone from you? There's lots of feedback here. Thank you. And what I think, still feedback. We need the mic. Need everyone else on mute. Yeah. Thank you. Jay, the question to you is that if we want to scale these industries by a factor of 2 to 5 times, okay, Mr. Madhavan yesterday, not our famous Mad Max Madhavan on the call, but Mr. Madhavan from Star yesterday, when he was addressing the inauguration, he was talking about the fact that we can go 4x in 5 years in the whole media industry to $100 million, and I think that's fine. But given the fact that you have leveraged the world in different types of formats of production, co-production, distribution, and creation, what would you think would be a dream situation to talk about the X factor in our industry? Jay, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Biren. I don't know the X factor, Biren. If I know, then I would have definitely done it already. But I think, listen, I feel the overarching theme, as far as I am concerned, and which I drive my business philosophy, is based on 2 important pillars. One is content, and one is platform, right? And the content is we all know, and I think we are more on. I'm talking about from a Toons point of view. We are more on concentrate on co-productions and our own IPs. Okay, and we believe that in our journey, I mean, we still do around 50% of service work, and that certainly helps us in paying the bills. But the real value creation for us is definitely happening through our co-productions and our ownership of the programs. And the key, I mean, in the past, at the beginning stage, we were basically a minority co-producer with somebody, and eventually we realized that those kind of co-productions is not really beneficial to you. You just simply lose money and also lose your opportunity. So I think what we are currently concentrating is basically more on creating intellectual property with known creators, top creators in specific territories, in global territories, upcoming territories, emerging markets. But it totally revolves around top creators, top franchise, whether it is games, films, film franchise, comic franchise, books, whatever it is, it's on that part, and produce these productions where, as a lead producer, not as a minority partner, as a lead producer, thereby we have a large bouquet of top class content. So that is one side of the thing, and the second side is platform, because today in the last 4-5 years, what has happened in the world, and it has changed. So the strategy is to create your own platforms. So for example, we are launching our own OTT. We already launched our own OTT platform in US right now, and we are launching it in India in a week's time with Airtel. So idea is to create our own platform, but that platform, it's at the very early stage, but also make sure that your content is placed in as much as platforms available around the world, so that you get the maximum footfalls and eyeballs in your this thing. So I think that is what is I'm driving, and eventually we believe this is what is going to drive, because these maximum exposure of your content drives licensing, merchandising, which is the X factor as far as animation business is concerned, which so far we were not able, not really successful in terms of getting that part of the things under our belt. So globally I'm talking about. So I think this is the two areas where we believe it help us if we do our job very well. A couple of other areas where I think I see a significant increase opportunity is definitely on the VFX side after the Bahubali and all that, and I believe the domestic films, their increased budgets on VFX. What I heard is that 20 to 25% of the film budgets are now devoted to VFX. So that is a significant increase, from the past. So I believe that is an opportunity. The second opportunity is from ed tech companies. This is kind of production work. Byju's, we ourselves at least are currently working 2 or 3 different ed tech companies, in different continents. So I think it is not just India; it is across the world. That space is kind of giving a lot of opportunities in the production, and then also in the games. So I believe there are multiple areas where we really see opportunities. Depending upon what your core business is, you can find out what is the appropriate X factor for you.
A great start conversation. I was in my back pocket keeping certain questions like edtech, etc. But great that you voiced it. I'd like to just going by my screen again. I'd like to come to Merzin, and Merzin, you have so many snapshots in your journey from being a prime focus and being a co-founder, and setting the pace in India, and then making international acquisitions. And I think we've been on the same highway in 2 directions. I've been working with a global company, bringing them to India, and you've been, taking an Indian company and taking it global, right? So I think we are making a broader and better two-way highway for the world when it comes to our industry. And would you like to share thoughts on, how can this scale, right? How can large companies like us scale? How can the ecosystem develop? What is the X factor for us to be looking at, beyond what has already happened over the last 5-10 years, which itself has been amazing and high value and high growth?
So yeah, of course, we are on the same highway only. I don't think we are going in opposite directions. We are traveling on the same one. So it is a journey, I think, and I think all along, though we've changed hats or whatever, I think the one thing that remains the same across animation, across everything is your work speaks, and it's the ever obvious challenge that it's the people that matter. And I think the biggest drawback of the industry for the amount of time that I have seen has always been the drain that happens, the brain drain at the top end. And the brain drain at the top end is not necessarily just about people going abroad. That's a new phenomenon that has started over the last couple of years. A little bit has grown in a little bit. But the bigger thing is for any industry to evolve, you need experienced people. If you don't have the experienced people, you cannot evolve. But if people drop out from the industry as they go ahead and see no future in the industry, then they're going to drop off. And if that drop off happens, then that means either they are becoming entrepreneurs or they are becoming, management or whatever. They're leaving the art of it. Like for example, myself, that I have left the, art of supervising, which I really love. I still love, but I focus so much on management that there aren't that many, let's say, 40 plus visual effects experienced people. And that's a drain. That's a definite drain. And if you don't have that, there is only that that you can create. You can't manufacture fast enough. There is you can manufacture the artist, but you cannot inculcate that much experience. So it is at a faster pace today. So I think that is very important, and the industry has to evolve, retaining those people, whether it is by bringing in exciting projects, because everyone wants to grow. But I mean, one of the saddest part of the whole thing is that along with work, it's the work-life balance, and it is everything around. The city also needs to be able to, sort of manage that, and so it's everything is intertwined, and the number of people coming in is at a high rate. But I think today's generation expectation is also very, either they want something quick or they exit the industry. So all of those factors start playing in. There is a huge potential coming up in the coming years, because I think from the few companies that, Rhythm and You started it all, where they had established that India can do, so also did DreamWorks, but they are sadly no longer there. But yes, MPC has done a fabulous job, and DNEG has been, pushing that envelope along. We've come a long way. We've managed to grow globally and inculcate a concept that India is a powerhouse to be able to manufacture or create talent and create pretty pictures. So we are there. But over the years, I think the technology boom is what is going to help us to bring in more technology into the country also, and for the infrastructure around it to be able to work. So we are all working from home, but there are still problems of whether it is the bandwidth issues, or it is the lag in the bandwidth, or not being able to work as seamlessly sometimes as maybe my London and Vancouver offices work. So that said, we've come a long way. Just the very fact that we are working from home very comfortably, no intention of getting into the office, out of no choice. I think that's a big step forward. And but it's all set to really emerge in a big way. India is set. Now it's up to us to how do we really cash in on that and make that difference. The potential is all there.
Thanks, Marzan. I think those are very good points. A number of good points. We'll tie that back into the conversation as we move forward. I'm going to ask Ashish if he can help us to switch gears a little bit. Ashish, you have been very much at the kind of front end of trying to create an ecosystem push between government and academia and studios and production houses, and your bigger vision of creating, if you like, a little city or a whole complex, which is of course down the road. But can you perhaps help to add to this conversation by giving us the hope and the vision and the time frame and the reality of, can we really create a more powerful platform for India, for everyone on this call, and we can all join hands with that, to create a really strong platform, a strong infrastructure on which large companies, like Merzens and others, or the company I represent, and small and medium companies. So really everyone can not do the thing where they repeat the infrastructure, they repeat storage, they repeat things. And we have a case study in Bangalore with this Center of Excellence. There is a large project yesterday confirmed by the minister in a public statement on the COE in Mumbai. But more than that, I think, is it possible to create an India platform for this metaverse, for this entire range of CG stuff that we do, and take that pain away from us? I mean, if the country now is announcing Wi-Fi for the whole country, why can't we do a super Wi-Fi, if I was to call it that, for the AVGC industry and really power this story forward? Over to you.
Yeah, well, it's an important thing that, when you talk about the X factor always is about what do you have and what you don't have. And that difference brings in an X factor for anything to succeed. And I think in India, we are blessed because we have a regional entertainment ecosystem, and we have the national entertainment ecosystem, and we have the international entertainment ecosystem. And there is an opportunity for people in our sector to switch between 100% service to the Indian system, regional system, or do co-productions, or to do international, productions, or create own IP. You actually have an opportunity to do everything. Now, where things actually have been taking time is in terms of anything that you do with the policy making for specialized areas. Most of your time goes into the concept selling, and when you do a concept selling with a typical formation and the structure we have in India for either the state governments or the central government, the attention span that people have is very, very short, and then you need to repeat things and repeat things and repeat things. And that's where you need to actually see that the concept areas, it's not only true for our industry, but it's true for many, many industries where it takes a lot of time. Having said that, with the digital content economy, you're set on a very different pedestal. And when I say that it's a different opportunity and a different pedestal for you, I'm glad that we spent this last 20-25 years building the industry and building the foundation. And as Merzin said, there will be people who will be leaving, there will be people who would continue, but we need to see that their experiences and their wisdom is constantly available to the industry to take the industry forward. Whether they are actively doing the shows, whether they are actively supervising the shows on visual effects or not, but their wisdom is something which is very important. And that's why I created a concept in 2005 when the National Center of Excellence concept was also written and presented. This took us 15 years to come to the final stage. It could have been started in 2011. It could have been started earlier. But the way it happens is it was destined to start now, and it is luckily is with the IDC of the IIT Mumbai, and I think it's in the safe zone for most of the industry areas. But between these 15 years, the private university law came in, and more than 27 universities today have created programs. And now we have these active programs going on, and there are really big time new age programs getting built within the next 2 years that are going to start in India. And I think that's where the skilling part of AVGC and XR industry is going to be phenomenally high. When I see where we are today, although we've spent a whole lot of time, I don't see that we have not succeeded in even a single vertical. We have succeeded in every single vertical. The experience that has been gained by the team that is sitting on this panel right now and even otherwise has been very crucial, and they all have been very positive in the approach and have taken the industry only forward. And when I say this, I'm glad to tell you that whatever study that we have created in the last 10 months tells us that by 2030, we are going to be around 5% of the global industry. That is phenomenally high. That's around 70 to 80 billion dollars with the present dollar rate. And as a total skilled manpower in the media and entertainment industry in our country, we are going to be around 50% of the total universe of media and entertainment under AVGC and XR itself. And that is a very, very big opportunity, because every single aspect of storytelling or content creation or the digital ecosystem is touched with AVGC and XR. The gamification would happen in every single site, whether it's a government site or a private company site, or whether it's a insurance ecosystem or education ecosystem. Gamification, animation, visual effects is definitely going to be there. So I believe that we need to only continue to propagate our industry the way we have done, probably go a little more deeper right now with the digital ecosystem, and we will definitely be there. And I will be really, really a happy person in 2030 if we are able to be a 50% of the total M&E industry.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashish, as usual, for encapsulating the total package of all that we do. I do absolutely agree that this friends ecosystem on this call have had the good fortune of not only lasting the journey, but coming out with some stars and stripes to show for it. So let's bring in the man of the moment 2020, Rajiv Chilaka, into the conversation. Rajiv, you have been able to shoot an arrow straight into the heads and hearts of the whole world, right? With your international success of Chhota Bheem. Now, how do you keep that X factor polished and shining in order to create the next 3 super hits globally? And what are you doing about that? And since the topic of VFX was introduced, and I think it was also alluded to by Jay, that now the Indian story is becoming more exciting, and there is possibility to do that. So what are your thoughts in the early vision that you have in this new startup in VFX? So maybe we'd like to hear on both these fronts. How you're going to replicate and scale the success that you already have. Kirit is smiling because he's done it a few times in the movie business, etc. But all of us, put in a lot of work, but we also need to have the outlets and the distribution that Kirit said was lacking. He's got a bunch of ideas in his back pocket that he wants the world to see, but he needs to have the distribution to do that. So Rajiv, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Biren. And I think I heard we're talking about X Factor, and it's definitely the future is going to be much faster in terms of the speed of internet or whatever. I think, see, let us figure out, before we come to what is the X factor in our industry, let's figure out like what is it, what are the trends in the market, what has happened in the past, what is happening today. Number one, if you look at 5G coming into US and now it's coming everywhere, it's going to come. I think we're going to be much internet connectivity. Everything is going to be much faster. With I think SpaceX going to take internet to homes. I think everybody is going to get content delivered or whatever they're doing delivered in gigabits, not anymore in megabits. Right now, although we all taken packages for 100 Mbps, we probably get 20 or 30 Mbps. So and the whole world is going to be connected by internet. I mean, it is just a matter of few more years. And today, I mean, it's this thing. So what does that mean to us? So today, all of us are consuming content. I mean, guys like us also consuming content. When is the time that we are doing it? We are probably 1 hour before we sleep, between 10 to 11 or 11 to 12 in the night, depends on thing. And we're watching, consuming content. We being busy, but there is tons of people out there who are spending time 8 to 10 hours a day consuming content. Now so obviously what is going to happen in terms of the demand of content creation is huge. That means our industry has potential to grow exponentially. Now let us look at again another thing. Okay, let's say we're in 2020, so about let's say 15 to 20 years ago, we had a Blockbuster, the number one in this kind of thing. Now Blockbuster is no longer there, or maybe is there, only one store I believe is there, is replaced by Netflix, which Blockbuster could have bought for $50 million in 2003 or 4. And I'm reading that book, No Rules, Rules. So I got all these data. I think I've become smarter after reading that book. So I think, so if you look at that example, or even the example of Kodak, disappearing, and Instagram, I mean, okay, so 17,000 employees in Kodak, 13 employees in $1 billion valuation, Instagram a few years ago, not today. But how technology can change things for us. I think we all have to understand that. Why is Netflix outperforming other OTT platforms? It is artificial intelligence that Netflix uses all these algorithms, and they have spent lots of times reinvesting back into their technology. I think as companies, all of us, I mean, we've heard of the X factor, I believe, is technology, infrastructure, technology. And people, of course, are the most important. Behind the technology is always a person. People are the most important, yes. But imagine like today, any VFX company or any animation company, if you're smaller than 100 people, people laugh at you. I mean, like, you're such a small company. I mean, technology companies, you're no bigger than 20 people, 30 people, and the size is billions of dollars. We need to get to that. So what if we are able to, I mean, definitely use technology. The future is obviously like, I mean, I am new to VFX. We started doing some tests for some Hollywood studios. We are passing the test, thankfully. We're going to get some work whenever the shooting start and stuff. So I'm a relatively new, but I'm observing. Example, a lot of this job in VFX is manual. And of course, great to have jobs created for people, but many times it is a human with an average brain is able to figure out, or even a below average brain is able to figure out what to do. But I think in the future, this is going to be replaced by technology or AI, and things are going to move much faster for us. Now, you also mentioned earlier about Mighty Little Beam. I think that's one of the things we did. We've been for a long time only a 2D company, and we've been only focusing on flash animation or traditional animation. And then we realized that, if we don't up our game, I don't think we stand the future. I mean, especially with so many companies coming and delivering fantastic content from India, we realized we have to up our game. And then we moved into CG production, and we upgraded our skills and everything using technology, and started doing that, and we were able to. Luckily, there's a lot of experienced people available. We were able to bring them in, and then also use good writers, because that's what we have realized, that in India still people don't want to pay for writers, but I think those are the most valuable people. I think the content is created there, and we need to respect them and understand that these guys can make a lot of difference. Creators also. I mean, so if we are able to plug in all these instruments and stuff, yes, definitely. And for a long time, I have been waiting to kind of get into live action. I want to make films like The Jungle Book or The Lion King for Bheem or any other new shows that we want to develop. And I'm figuring out, okay, can I do this with technology? Okay, I don't know this technology. So that's the reason we started the VFX wing as well. And then now I'm trying to talk to the Netflixes or Amazon of the world, and they say, hey, Rajiv, if we want live action, we'll go to Shah Rukh Khan or Zoya Akhtar or somebody else. Why will we come to you? If we want animation, we'll talk to you. But so I'm not able to figure out how do we enter that. So then same time, again, understanding the kind of content creation is going to happen next year, 2021. Everyone has been holding off their monies and everything to produce. So we're going to have huge opportunity there. Another number. So Netflix revenues in 2019 in India alone, I'm talking India alone, was about 470 crores. That's huge. I don't know. And in 2020, it's 900 crores. That's like all the kids' networks together. And in 2 years, these guys have achieved that. I think 2018 was like some 5 or 10 crores, pretty low. They kind of had exponential growth. Again, of course, they have this advantage of having all the content produced in the US and stuff. So now coming back, okay, now let us understand how much are they going to spend next year. They're going to spend about 2,800 crores. They announced this is online. 2,800 crore they're going to spend in India market. So that's a lot in 1 year. So, I mean, okay, maybe we won't catch the bus in 2021, but maybe we should do in 2022. I think content creation, that's just Netflix alone. So huge opportunities coming our way. I mean, no longer the world is just local. I mean, everyone is looking for shows that will travel globally. So, nowadays I'm introducing myself as, I am CEO of Green Gold. Locally, we are known for Chota Bheem. Globally, we are known for Mighty Little Bheem. And Mighty Little Bheem is still not yet known in India much. But what I'm trying to say is that we all realize that people are pretty much the same around the world. They had enough of Hollywood kind of formulas. They're looking for different kind of formulas. And we as creators, producers, studios, we will have great opportunities coming our way. We need to be ready with technology, with people. Of course, we need to have cash backing also. I guess that's all from me, Biren.
Rajiv, you have just echoed Merzen's conversation in that from a person who sat there with a lot of artists around you. I remember being in your studio when you were starting, purely immersed in the creative. Now look at the language of the executive. You are now you, like everybody else on this call, is all about numbers. So that's a fantastic space to straddle. And I do think that people like yourself and Merzen and others on this call, Kirit, for example, all of us have come with an understanding, or many of you, I've come more from a pure exec background. It's wonderful to see people grow, because the execs that come from that kind of background, knowing what happens at the artistic level, are going to be the players of tomorrow. And while the actor phenomenon that you talked about is where people wanted to go for VFX, but the OTT channels, the streaming channels in India have already shown that the live action era of the stars is being given away to directors, to writers, to people who produce stories of all kinds. And I think it's democratized the way content is created. So yes, we will have the big opportunities from there as well. But I think what you're doing on the IP side will also flourish. So I want to come to the youngest and the most agile member of our team, Mad Max. Mad Max, you are a startup. I believe you're starting for the first time in 2020. As a person who's starting in 2020 and seeing all these other guys on the call, right, who've been doing all this stuff for a long time, and you've been smiling at all of us. So how are you going to start in this industry from scratch? That would be a nice first comment from you, and then tell us the real story of what actually is going on with assemblage and yourself as the second part of the question. So go for it, Mad Man.
Thank you, Biren. Indeed, it's fun and pleasure to connect with associates and friends, and we've known each other in the industry. But my X factor is not technology. I wouldn't bet Bitcoin on technology. I would bet that our X factor is going to be purely based on the pharmaceutical companies, because for me, VFX stands for vaccine effects, not visual effects. So the conspiracy theories are, and we've been kind of reading it for the last many months now, that our DNAs are going to change with the vaccine. So the X factor is going to be contributed largely by the pharma guys, which would probably change the DNA and increase the dopamine levels to kind of get entertained more. And probably these pharma companies could be funded by the technology guys. Anyway, I was just kidding, because I had to bring in, just like my name sounds, for me, since the topic was VFX, I said, let me call it vaccine effects. That's going to happen for all of us instead of the visual effects. And truly so in terms of, I think what Tesla is doing, the Starlink, is going to be a real challenge for the 5G guys. You rightly said, nobody could predict 2020. I'm probably betting on the Tesla guy that the Starlink connectivity is going to kind of give the 5G guys run for monies in terms of revenues, because this guy is going through satellite. So that's going to be very interesting for us to. So yes, assemblage is relatively, a new chip in the block, and I think we have been lucky. I've always been lucky. In fact, I didn't even know when I joined the entertainment space what I was supposed to do in that particular space. And but having said that, I think there's a lot of pride and contribution and support from everybody, from the artists, from the vendors, from technology guys, from software companies, from training institutes, so on and so forth. And as we speak, I think Assemblage is one of those, another first companies which has a show, which is on the #1 show on Apple TV for the last week or so. So Assemblage has been lucky to have touched many of the OTTs, Netflix and Amazon and HBO Max and Disney and Apple. For being a startup, we have done relatively well, and that's very relative in any case. But without a doubt, I will keep this short. I've always been very bullish, and I think collectively, we have done many more firsts out of this country compared to many other continents. Certainly the North American continent have always been the leaders, but as compared to many other continents, India as a country has done many firsts between many of us sitting in this panel. So I'm not even, worried about the future. Because we all learned in the last 7-8 months, we have all gone more into mindfulness and, kind of being more empathetic, not making any judgments. A beautiful show called Stillwater, which is on Apple TV right now, which even talks about the kids kind of learning mindfulness. So my excitement is more not about the past or the future, but staying very present and practicing now. And I think we are actually, all of us now, going through exciting learning curves, which the X factors will automatically happen in any case. You're mute.
Great collection of thoughts. Thank you very much, Mad Mac, for the humorous bringing the humor. You know, our industry only survives. We make our money on humor, so we should never ignore resorting to default conversations. And I share some of your craziness, as people know. I think, you know, this is the next. We can't do this on the streets of Nipcom and TV anymore. So why not do it on the CII Big Summit, right? We just have a little bit of banter. I think, look, we've got a great collection of thoughts already, and you know, just from I think Max, go on mute. I think I'm getting a little bounce back there.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Okay. So, you know, I think look what we've got here. We've got a fantastic collage. This is like a whiteboard. This panel so far is like a whiteboard in which all of us have written, you know, this is a word cloud of all the things that actually are going to contribute to the X factor of the future. And I would like to, I will come back to this panel and to anyone in the audience that wants to get this word cloud from us. We've just released, with everyone on this call, we have released a 78-page report on the summit effects that all of you were part of. And I think it's an amazing document for us to just sit back. It doesn't make the best bedside reading, but if you're sitting up and trying to think about our industry, it's all there. And I think today we've actually amplified that thought further, where, you know, Ashish has brought in the buckets in which we have a lot of things to play in. 75% of the revenue of this sector has come from international. But he's correctly pointed out there's a national and a regional market that's galloping, and Merzen talked to that, and Rajiv talked to that. And I think that's a whole undiscovered direction in which to go. I still feel that, you know, Ashish is doing this on his own, but I would like others in this call to join hands in creating what I call the string of pearls, which is getting all the states and the central government and the industries there and the academia there to actually start contributing to doing complementary things, because we need that to develop. I think the points made by Merzen in terms of creativity can only scale if you have creative leaders. And whichever way they are not present, we need to generate that very quickly. You know, there are initiatives like Train the Trainer program, creating new faculty, Whistling Woods doing some really pioneering stuff, others doing pioneering stuff as well. But that needs to scale as well, because the potential to do 5x is there. And the potential to do 5% from 1% is there. But everyone on this call has known that we've had to kind of take and that's why probably we've done better than other continents that Mad Max spoke about, because we had to train the talent and then deploy the talent, right? But imagine if we had a sidecar vehicle training the talent and we would deploy them, that all our energies would go into that. So that's where I think that conversation was there. You know, Kirith talked about the fact that we have many ideas and concepts, and I think we've had pitching sessions and we've had festivals that have been organized for years now by Jay on the call, etc. You know, and funding small projects. People like E. Suresh, people like Jay Kumar, many people have created lots of stuff. You know, Ashish has been involved in the award story that gets recognized in Mumbai every year. So we know where the nuggets lie. I just was on a jury with maybe almost everyone on this call, trying to look at the 40 people under 40 that are doing things on the animation side, on the VFX side, on the game side. I think that's our firepower. I think that's what we need to take forward in a way in which spend some of our time and move forward. And I'd like closing comments. We have 15 minutes or so. If everyone can, so from this session, if we was to leave the audience and ourselves in what is the most important next thing we should be doing? We've just heard amazing opportunity for 2021. Rajiv gave us figures on what the streamers would do. I think there's pent-up demand coming in from the channels. Live action, fingers crossed, when Madhavan's version of VFX comes in and we get inoculated, then, you know, there will be a huge burst again. Everyone who's been involved in CG animation has not stopped in the last year. I would like to pay tribute on this call, and I'm sure all of you will agree with me that the people in our industry, in our country, that have been working from home in spite of all the challenges, we've really done a great job in reconnecting them in weeks, just in short weeks after everything got hit very badly at the end of March. 70, 80, 90% of our workforces have actually come back to work and continued to work remotely. And everyone on this call knows that there is something that is very unusual that's happened in 2020, in that we would never have agreed that our iterative face-to-face industry with the supervisor over the shoulder helping the guy at the computer actually has been able to do that remotely with great difficulty, but it's been done. We never thought that we would get clients, global clients, to agree that we should be able to work outside of our studios, and we spent lots of time accrediting. They've come and certified us for security protocols, and look what India has delivered in 2020 by working remotely with tens of thousands of people, at home or in remote locations. And isn't that a way forward? Isn't that a way for us to create hubs, all of us, to create hubs where we can have people remotely plugging into it and bringing people from tier 2 and tier 3 cities who've got the basic training and so on and so forth, to really scale this in a way that has never been imagined before, would never have been allowed by our clients before. And I think those models are emerging as well. So closing comments from everyone. I think this is the X factor is, I think, emerging as a combination of the parts of everything we've talked about now. Some great takeaways from today. Rajiv saying the future is faster, right? I think that was a great one. Merzin correctly pointing out that, look, all this has a price. There's a work-life balance story. And also, in most of our studios, all of us have now got at least 2 or 3 generations of different folks, right? The youngsters who have just come in, who have a completely different expectation of life, of money, of satisfaction, of what they want to do, of how much time they want to do it for, and people who've been around for 10, 15 years who have a different expectation of life and work. So I think with all of this, Ashish, may I start with you and a quick closing comment. What should people leave this meeting with, thinking about the thing I need to do to get up in 2021? So quick 1 or 2 line, quick recommendations, closing comments, suggestions, whatever you like. Let's go around the panel.
I think one of the critical things that anybody can do is to encourage creative talent to make a creative career. I think that's the starting point, because that's where we still have apprehensions from the parents and the peer ecosystem and the other teacher ecosystem. And I think more the people who are capable of doing things come to make a career here would definitely be a very solid foundation for our industry. Second important thing I believe is that we need to create these clusters, like Tata's built the Steel City, Jindal is building a Steel City. There have been different cities known for different things. We need media and entertainment cities, and that's the concept I wrote in 2005. It's coming up in Lonavala in 2,500 acres. And I only believe that, a rightful funding needs to be available to ensure that we actually get this going. And we need to have our own identity. Of course, the IT ecosystem in Hyderabad has its own identity, and with the image towers, that's going to be a cluster. But we need to start building our own cities where a creative ecosystem and a performing arts ecosystem and a design ecosystem has a play, and that's going to be the future that and I believe whatever digitization happens, there will be a requirement of a hybrid model. People for themselves need to be engaged. What Merzin said about work-life balance will only come with the physical and the digital combinations of a right kind. And that's the balance which is going to lead into getting people satisfaction as they move forward in the future.
Thanks, Ashish. That's a great summary and some great takeaways. Can I come to Jay Kumar, please?
Abiran, I think Ashish ji, you talked about the platform for creative people to transform to creative careers. I'm very pleased to let all of you know that we are launching a platform for both younger kids as well as professionals to actually transform their passion to creative careers. It's a platform named Wisdom. We will be launching it in mid-January. So that's one. Then I think from my point of view, I think it's very simple. What we normally do, invest in talent in terms of skills, look at the technology, and look at the best practices. Probably not the best practices, the next practices. What kind of the new age, the next best practices. Those kind of stuff. And the biggest takeaway from this crisis, I believe, is the idea of ingesting a large number of employees who can work from home. Thereby, we can have a leanest cost structure. And I believe if the industry can actually utilize that as a thing, and I believe this will be a biggest takeaway from this, crisis time. We are definitely trying to do that. And like what Ashish ji is doing. So if we can also support Ashish and kind of similar organization, and if the government can also come up with policy measures which support the industry, then I believe then we can definitely have a great future.
Thanks a lot, Jay. That's great. Mersin, closing comments. We need to. You already have great scale. How do we make great scale greater? You talked about the issues. I think you talked about all of them. You said people matter, brain drain, work-life balance, expectations. But I think if we bring more exciting projects, right, that probably is the secret sauce. And how do we continue to make India, a bigger brand? How do we get this pie to become even bigger and the 5-time opportunity that all of us are chasing? What are your thoughts about how that can happen?
So necessity is the mother of invention. I think in these diverse, or difficult times, as we call, we've already seen a glass ceiling breaking with working from home, where all along it was about working in studios internationally. It's so difficult working across borders. Now suddenly everyone's working remotely. And that is a huge opportunity for India, because we've already got that as a proven record now, that you can work across multiple time zones, and all of that is opened up. So now is the time to grab every opportunity that comes along. And speaking only from our side, we've always seen that every time there's been a dip in the global side, I think we've come out stronger, because I think we have that drive to make it happen as Indians. And that's a very big factor. I think if there is an X factor, that is our factor that I think is good for us, and it sets us apart from the rest of the world. And the future is now, so we just need to grab it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Rajiv, in addition to all that you said, which was very thought-provoking and futuristic, the one thing that you think we should all be looking at for 2021?
I think, I think we all had an opportunity to do different things in 2020, and I think everybody here directly or indirectly has gone in and reinvented their business model. I think we've all put that thoughts. All businesses, not just our business. But I also realize that if we do the same things, we will get the same results. So I think we need to change in as leaders of the company and stuff, we need to change the way we were functioning, probably somewhere we have to have our learning and putting into there. And we had this time in 2020 to do that. So I think in everyone naturally expanding their intellectual abilities, I think that would be something to look forward to 2021, because opportunities are going to come like wildfire in 2021. So we need to be there to grab it. So it's going to be a very exciting year, and I hope COVID will die a natural death.
Yes, very much. Whether it dies unnaturally or naturally, we don't care, as long as it goes away. Thanks, Rajiv, for that. Kirit, you have, in that back pocket that's full of concepts and ideas and all the stuff that you talked about. How are you going to break the mold and not wait for some biggies to come and distribute this stuff? And I'm sure 2020, you've been cooking up some schemes about how to scale this fantastic journey from the ideation to the outcome. Any thoughts of something you want to tell us will happen in 2021 that you will make happen or we can all make happen with you? You're on mute.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'd really like to comment on is the fact that the resilience of the Indian animation industry has been remarkable, because I saw almost all the studios that I collaborate with, I saw all of them up and running immediately. Most of them had anticipated the closure and the shutdown, and therefore they had moved their machines home. Some probably had a lag of about 10 days or so, and so it was quite remarkable, and it just shows the grit and the determination of the Indian animation industry to actually move forward. Having said that, for me, success of the animation industry, notwithstanding of the fact that there's been remarkable strides that we've taken in the last 20, 25 years. For me, the success of the animation industry will be complete and whole when we are making stories for an Indian audience as well, which is the kind of success that a live action aspect of filmmaking has done in Netflix or the OTT platforms. If animation can replicate that in the large scale, that would be successful for me. Is that we make stories for local audience, but their stories are travel, and that is something that is an area that I'm focusing on. How to crack it? I don't know. I have some ideas, obviously, but things are tough right now. And there are challenges. I think all of us are stuck in the same quagmire in some sense. And so all of us are trying to figure out things from their own perspective. We're pretty much in the same journey. I think most of us want to create indigenous content for our own country. And, therefore, I think co-production is a great tool. I think doing back-end work for servicing contracts is a great way to build capacity, but somehow sort of we have to move forward in a bigger way. There are some things happening, but I can't share it because of NDAs. So I'm hoping that those will move forward. Your voice is muted.
We will read the smile on your face as having shared that secret. Thanks so much, Kirit, and really all the best for those plans as well. I'm going to come to Mad Max to give us his closing thoughts, and I think we're about 2 or 3 minutes away from wrapping up then.
And Biren, so the way I look at it is, I think, primarily we've been historically we've been our learning has been a guru shishya model, So even at the studio level, you had supervisors sitting behind the back of the artist and kind of pushing them, and there were always personalized biases, liking an artist, not liking an artist, and so on and so forth. But I think what this particular situation that we're all going through, right? And therefore, we better enjoy life of this particular COVID situation. And the life situation it is giving us an opportunity to self-learn hell of a lot. So what is going to emerge also is going to be some of the artists who are indulging in learning, because there are enough like our kids, with the kids at home are going through online training programs as far as the schools are concerned. Therefore, the artists who are much more mature than their own children who are attending online programs have an opportunity to learn online, because there are great teachers and there are great courses from an online perspective. And therefore, I think the method of learning is changing, and what will emerge is going to be guys who are putting in those efforts and the passion and the hunger, self-teaching themselves without a guru, will shine, because there is going to be no more personal biases of personal likes and dislikes of artists by a supervisor or by a management guy. The work will shine, the work will say for it, and therefore I believe the learning model and the teaching model are changing, and the guys and the artists should actually take advantage of this at this point in time.
Fantastic. Listen, although we talk regularly, we meet regularly as colleagues in the industry, it's amazing that maybe this panel or people on this panel have been on these kinds of panels annually for close to 2 decades. And I hope that everybody on the panel is surprised or not surprised that we can still bring the quality of freshness that we've seen this afternoon to the conversation. Some of our asks remain the same. Some of the walls in which we keep banging our head against remain the same. But guess what? Without helmets here, we've got some pretty strong heads, so we can keep doing what we do. And I just think that, look, today we've covered the landscape of, we started with talking about X factor, but actually what we did was we talked about the form factor of who we are and what we do. And we've covered consumption, we've covered the economy, we've covered culture, we've covered talent, we've covered business opportunities, we've covered the headroom of where we can go. And I can just say, and I echo the thoughts that were mentioned earlier in the conversation, no single country outside of North America has actually been able to achieve in as short a time as the last 15, 20 years, right? There are countries that have been doing this for 50 and 70 and 100 years. Very few countries have been able to scale from where we came in, let's say, 2000 to where we are in 2020. And I like the future is faster phrase. What we've achieved in these last 20 years probably is what we want to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years. And doors will open, and we will open them. And I'd like to think that, you know, the platforms that CII are creating in order for us to create this engagement and hopefully to create the string of pearls, to bring in many more states, to bring in many more people into this ecosystem, will really result in those outcomes. And Ashish, you are putting a panel together, I think, with the states on this big picture summit to continue the engagement that we have with with everyone in the ecosystem. It may be directly in money, it may be directly in grants, but it may be enablement. I'd like to end with an announcement that we finally managed to get the first AVGC fund cleared, and the Karnataka government has put out an ad giving its first fund of 20 crores for the AVGC sector. So that's a nice step, because once one state does something, we are able to scale that further. And I just wanted to tell you that I think that's exactly the kind of support and assistance that we would like to see happen nationally and internationally, give opportunity to all of us. So thank you very much, everyone on this panel.
Biren, the session is tomorrow at 10:30.
Tomorrow at 10:30. So
state government. Yeah.
So please echo the thoughts of this panel, Ashish, and of our continuing engagement to see that happen. We have made a formal recommendation, which we repeated at the inauguration, to the Ministry of INB, that we will have a center state council, representing all of the states and the industry, and we'd love for that to become a reality. And the AVGC policy, national policy, which I think also you are coordinating, I think that also something which will give more help and momentum to all of us, right? So I would just like to thank Ashish, to thank you, to thank Jayakumar, to thank Mad Max, to Kirit, to Rajiv and Merzin. It's been absolutely sparkling and fabulous as always. So have a great afternoon, and let's